Out of Africa. Early modern humans first appeared in Africa around 300,000 years ago. Small groups slowly moved north through the Middle East over many generations. They traveled on foot and followed animals, rivers, and seasonal food sources. The climate changed often during this period, forcing people to keep moving. Some groups entered Europe, while others continued deeper into Asia. These travelers carried simple stone tools, animal skins, and fire-making knowledge. Scientists traced this migration using ancient bones and shared human DNA patterns. Nearly every non-African population today connects back to these early travelers. The journey lasted thousands of years and covered massive distances across harsh landscapes. Humans adapted differently depending on local weather, animals, and available resources. This migration became the foundation of global human civilization and cultural diversity. Into Europe. Humans reached Europe roughly 45,000 years ago during the Ice Age. The continent looked very different, with giant glaciers covering northern regions. Early humans hunted mammoths, reindeer, and wild horses across frozen grasslands. They used sharp stone spears and animal hide clothing for survival. Many groups lived inside caves during harsh winter months. Cave paintings in France and Spain still show scenes from daily life. Humans also encountered Neanderthals, another human species already living in Europe. Scientists believe the two groups interacted and occasionally shared families. Over time, modern humans spread across the continent more successfully. Their advanced tools and social cooperation improved survival during difficult conditions. These migrations shaped the early cultures of Europe for thousands of years. Across Asia. Asia became one of the largest migration zones in ancient human history. Humans moved through forests, deserts, mountains, and coastal regions over thousands of years. Different environments forced people to adapt in completely different ways. Groups living near rivers often depended on fish and freshwater resources. Mountain populations learned to survive freezing temperatures and thinner air. Some communities traveled through Siberia during extremely cold Ice Age conditions. Others settled tropical regions filled with dense forests and heavy rainfall. Stone tools, fire, and teamwork helped humans survive unfamiliar landscapes. Ancient trade paths later connected many of these growing populations together. Languages, farming methods, and cultural traditions slowly spread between regions. Asia eventually became home to some of the world's earliest civilizations and cities. Into Australia. Humans reached Australia around 50,000 years ago, using simple watercraft. This migration required crossing open ocean areas between Southeast Asian islands. Early travelers likely used wooden rafts or small boats made from natural materials. Australia already contained giant animals like massive kangaroos and giant reptiles. The environment included deserts, tropical forests, and long coastal regions. Early communities adapted by hunting, fishing, and gathering native plants. Aboriginal Australians developed rich traditions connected closely to the natural landscape. Stories, songs, and artwork preserved history across many generations. Rock paintings still survive in caves and cliffs throughout Australia today. These populations remained isolated from most of the world for thousands of years. Their culture became one of humanity's oldest continuous living traditions. Across the Bering Land Bridge. During the Ice Age, sea levels dropped across many parts of Earth. A massive land bridge connected Siberia and Alaska during this colder period. Humans crossed this region while following migrating animal herds for food. The area contained grasslands filled with mammoths, bison, and other large animals. Small groups slowly moved deeper into North America over many generations. Some communities traveled south along coastal routes beside the Pacific Ocean. Others moved inland through openings between giant ice sheets. These migrations eventually reached Central America and South America as well. Ancient campsites and stone tools reveal how people survived these difficult journeys. Different environments created new cultures, languages, and survival techniques over time. This migration shaped the earliest human populations throughout the Americas. Coastal routes. Some researchers believe humans spread mainly along ancient coastlines. Coastal regions offered reliable food from fish, shellfish, and sea animals. Traveling beside water also made navigation easier for early human groups. People could move steadily while staying near fresh water and food sources. Simple boats may have helped communities cross rivers and narrow ocean passages. Many ancient coastlines now sit underwater because sea levels later increased. This makes archaeological evidence difficult to discover in modern times. Scientists still find ancient tools and camps near older shoreline regions. Coastal travel may explain how humans reached Australia surprisingly early. It also helps explain rapid human movement through southern Asia. These migration routes connected distant populations long before written history existed. Into the Pacific Islands. Pacific migrations became some of history's greatest navigation achievements. Polynesian sailors traveled enormous distances across open ocean without modern technology. They studied stars, waves, winds, and bird movements for navigation. Large canoes carried families, supplies, plants, and domesticated animals between islands. Communities settled places including Hawaii, Samoa, Tonga, and New Zealand. Each island required different survival methods depending on climate and geography. Fishing became extremely important across many Pacific societies. People also built homes using wood, woven leaves, and volcanic stone. Oral storytelling preserved history because written language was uncommon in many regions. These migrations connected isolated islands across millions of square miles of ocean. Pacific navigation remains one of humanity's most impressive exploration achievements. Into the Arctic. Humans eventually settled some of the coldest regions on Earth. Arctic environments included freezing temperatures, snowstorms, and long winter darkness. Communities survived using animal fur clothing and insulated shelters made from snow. Hunting seals, whales, and fish became essential for food and survival. People crafted tools from bone, ivory, and sharpened stone materials. Dogs later helped transport supplies across snowy landscapes more efficiently. Families worked closely together because survival depended heavily on cooperation. Knowledge about weather and sea ice became extremely valuable across generations. Ancient Arctic groups adapted physically and culturally to severe climates. Their survival methods influenced later northern populations across Canada and Greenland. These migrations showed how adaptable humans became in extreme environments. Through the Americas. After entering North America, humans gradually spread throughout the continents. Some groups traveled through forests, while others crossed mountains and deserts. Communities adapted differently depending on local climate and available resources. People near rivers often focused on fishing and freshwater hunting. Grassland populations hunted large animals like bison using coordinated group strategies. South American regions included rainforests, high mountains, and dry coastal deserts. Over time, populations created farming systems and permanent settlements. Corn, potatoes, and beans became major food sources in many areas. Ancient cultures later built large cities, roads, and trade networks. These migrations created thousands of unique languages and cultural traditions. Human movement across the Americas lasted many thousands of years. During the Neolithic Revolution, around 12,000 years ago, humans slowly shifted from hunting to farming. This period became known as the Neolithic Revolution, or New Stone Age. People began growing crops and raising animals near permanent settlements. Farming provided more stable food supplies than constant migration and hunting. Villages expanded into larger communities as population steadily increased. Wheat, barley, goats, and sheep spread across parts of Europe and Asia. Farming techniques moved between regions through trade and migration. People also developed pottery, weaving, and improved building methods during this period. Permanent settlements created stronger social structures and organized labor systems. Cities eventually formed near fertile rivers and major trade routes. This migration pattern changed human civilization more than almost any earlier development. Along the Silk Road. The Silk Road connected Asia, the Middle East, and Europe through trade routes. Merchants traveled thousands of miles carrying silk, spices, metals, and valuable goods. These routes crossed deserts, mountains, and crowded ancient cities. Travelers also carried ideas, religions, languages, and scientific knowledge between civilizations. Camels became important because they survived long journeys through dry desert regions. Large trading centers developed along major stopping points and crossroads. Chinese inventions like paper slowly spread west through these connections. Religious beliefs, including Buddhism and Islam, also expanded through trade movement. Cultural exchange became just as important as the exchange of products. The Silk Road remained active for centuries before ocean trade became dominant. These migration routes helped connect distant civilizations into a larger global network. During the Age of Exploration. The Age of Exploration began during the late 1400s and early 1500s. European ships started crossing oceans more frequently than ever before in history. Improved navigation tools helped sailors travel farther across dangerous waters. Countries like Spain, Portugal, England, and France built large overseas empires. Explorers reached the Americas, Africa, Asia, and Pacific Islands through long sea voyages. These journeys connected continents that had remained mostly separated for centuries. Large numbers of settlers moved into newly claimed territories across the world. Trade expanded quickly through shipping routes across the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. Foods like potatoes, corn, and tomatoes spread between continents during this period. Diseases also traveled globally and caused massive population losses in many regions. Ports became crowded centers filled with merchants, sailors, and imported goods. This migration period permanently reshaped global populations, economies, and cultural connections.